Hey everybody, welcome back to Andertons TV, and as the title suggests, we're going to talk about the 5 most important things for you to consider when you're buying a starter guitar.
Absolutely.
Ben, who I've worked with for many years now, presenting videos on our acoustic guitar channel, is also a full-time guitar teacher. So please, Ben, tell us a little bit about your guitar teaching background.
Sure. Well, I mean, you know, as many professional musicians these days, you have to have multiple revenue streams. So like a lot of people, I teach as well. I've been teaching, I mainly teach in schools, although I do some private stuff. And I've been, teaching in schools for nearly 15 years now.
Okay.
So,
and is it predominantly beginners that you teach, or all sorts?
I teach everyone. About 18 months ago, I started teaching kind of younger kids too. I started a new school. So I teach everyone from year 1, which is kind of 4 or 5.
Brilliant.
Up to, kind of A-level and beyond. And then I've got a couple of students who have carried on when they're doing degrees.
Great.
And I teach, you know, adults who are starting and adults who are professionals and all sorts really across the board.
Okay, so point 1, we're going to talk about getting the size of the guitar right. So we have here nylon string guitars, steel string acoustic guitars, and electric guitars. Generally speaking, the 3 sizes that you will find in a guitar is half size, which is this, 3/4 size, which is on screen now, and full size, which is kind of everything else you can see here. It's generally harder to find half size electric and steel string acoustic guitars. So these will typically be available as a 3/4 or a full size, and then nylon string is the one that goes down to half size.
Mm-hmm.
Give the people watching a rough idea as to the age group that you think is appropriate for each size.
Sure. I mean, depending on the size of your child, I would say, you know, like 5 to 8-ish for the half size is a good start. And then kind of 8 to 10 or 11 for 3/4 size. And then above 11, you're looking at full size. But there, you know, there's exceptions to the rule. I started on a full size when I was 9, but that's because it was the 80s and there were no 3/4 size guitars.
Okay.
But yeah, it's whatever fits. Get your arm over, get your hand around it, as long as that's comfortable. That's the important thing.
So point 2 is getting the type of guitar right for a starter. We've got 3 types of guitars here. We've got a classical guitar, sometimes it's called a nylon string guitar. It has nylon strings. You've got a regular acoustic guitar, or it might be called a folk guitar or something like that, that has steel strings on it. And then we have an electric guitar, which is what Ben's holding, is what these are here. And that also has steel strings, but they're different to the steel strings that are on that guitar. So talk us through strings, Ben, and why it's so important that you get that choice right for a starter.
When we're talking about strings, what we're really talking about is string tension, because when you're starting out, particularly, you know, a small kid, to actually have the physical strength to push down on a string, that's one of the things that quite a lot of kids struggle with when they're starting out. Nylon strings have got the lowest tension, so they're the easiest to press down and get a clean note. Mm-hmm. Then I would say after that, it's probably electric guitars are the next easiest to play, ending up with a steel string. Like if I've got a child who's starting, I would steer them towards either a nylon string, or if they really want to play electric, towards an electric with some light gauge strings. But a steel string, I think you generally need to build up a bit more kind of finger strength before you can get started on it.
Now would be a great opportunity, I think, just to hear the difference between a steel string and a nylon string acoustic guitar. We're going to plug the electric guitar into our amplifier later, but let's have a little listen how a nylon string sounds.
Sure, so this is your classic kind of... So a fairly soft sound.
Yep, and let's have a little listen to what a steel string sounds like. Now it's important to say here, the chords and the notes on a nylon string and a steel string are the same. So there's no sense that, you know, you're playing different music or learning differently on this. In terms of genres of music, historically, a nylon string would be a classical style or a flamenco style, and a steel string would be a folk
Yeah, and pop and
Yeah.
rock and stuff.
And I think that's like at a higher level, that's still the case. But as a beginner, I wouldn't worry about that at all. I would still go choose the guitar that you think you're most likely to be comfortable learning on.
I think there's that. I get this question from parents quite a lot, who say, you know, I want to buy a guitar for my child. What's the best guitar for them to start learning on? And it's always, well, you know, kind of what they want to play. Because I've had some kids who've started on a nylon string, really, really not enjoyed it, because what they wanted to do, they wanted to rock and they wanted to play electric. So put an electric guitar in their hands and all of a sudden their eyes light up and they're practicing. So it's kind of finding, as well as the guitar that is kind of comfortable and plays nicely, if your child really wants to play Seven Nation Army super loud, then look at an electric rather than an acoustic.
That is a great segue to bring us on to point number 3. The playability of the guitar. Now, playability is a wide-ranging term that will encompass how comfortable it is to play and hold, but also stylistically, what can you do on it? And Ben's point is absolutely nailed on, which is that many young kids, the majority of young kids that want to learn to play the guitar, are going to want to emulate a pop or a rock band that they're listening to on Radio 1 and not necessarily an artist they're listening to on Radio 3.
That's very true.
You know, generally speaking. So talk us through, Ben, like the playability of, say, nylon versus acoustic versus electric and the sort of pros and cons.
Sure. So I think when you're talking about playability, there's a few key things to think about. The first one I would say is the action of the strings, which if you're not sure what the action is, it's the physical distance that the strings are away from the fretboard, which is the flat bit on top. If you have a guitar with a high action, which, you know, a lot of kids come to me with old guitars that, you know, someone pulled out the attic with an action like this, it makes it incredibly hard to play, very frustrating to learn on. Because, you know, they might, you know, say they have a lesson on a school guitar which is actually plays okay, and then they go home to their own guitar and it's got, you know, the E string's 2 inches off the fretboard and you can't press down and make those chords. So that would be my first thing, would be the action of the guitar.
If you just turn that guitar on its side onto the, that's it. What happens to a guitar over a long period of time, if you leave it in the attic, is the strings are desperately trying to pull the neck forward and lift the bridge upwards on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah, trying to fold in on itself.
Yeah, even relatively small movements in either of those things are what makes the action go higher and higher and higher.
Yeah.
And Ben is so right. A professional player like Ben is not going to be able to play a guitar with an action like that. So a beginner, it's like, forget it.
Yeah.
So it's really important, and it's one of the things that we probably try our hardest to do with the East Coast range, is make sure that the guitars straight out the box have the most playable action that you can possibly get on a sort of a student style guitar. But yes, playability is so important. And if you are going to give your child a second-hand guitar, particularly if it's been in a loft for years and years and years, take it to your local guitar shop and just say, is there anything you can do to this guitar to get the action down?
Yeah.
And if they can and they want to charge you a few quid to do that, then I would say generally do that. You know, give the player the best possible action.
And, you know, if a student turns up with a guitar that has got a high action, you know, I have a few tools I take to keep in my teaching bag for that very reason, so that I can, you know, I can adjust the truss rod, I can do some things, but, you know, there's some stuff where so take it to someone who really knows what they're doing. But these, I mean, I teach and I do regularly recommend East Coast guitars, not because I work here, but because I know that every East Coast guitar that a student of mine has bought has turned up and it's playable and it sounds good and all that kind of stuff that you want in a first guitar.
So let's just go through again the difference perhaps, and I sort of want to lean towards the electric guitar here. As long as your acoustic guitar, whether it's nylon or steel string, has got a fairly low action, playing chords up and down here is okay. It's not, you know, there's nothing too difficult. As Ben mentioned before, steel strings on that acoustic guitar are just generally a little harder to press down, so I probably wouldn't suggest a steel string acoustic guitar for young children.
No, I would.
So 11, 12 years and upwards.
Yeah.
They'll have a little bit more strength there. But there's not really a playability issue here. Where the issue becomes on playability and where electric guitars have a massive advantage is up here, where, as you can see, just the physical design of this guitar means that my hand gets this far up and then up here becomes deeply uncomfortable. And that's why electric guitars have this bit here. And now my hand can get up here, no problem at all.
True.
I sense a but.
Well, no, but I mean, if you're learning, you don't want to be up this end.
This is true. That's not week one, is it?
I just, I've got this, my feelings about cutaways on acoustic guitars. I think, with the playability thing, because as well as the action, like the great thing I like about these ones is that the frets are all level. Because you get some other guitars where they've hammered the frets in and just left it, and you get one fret that's a little bit higher than the others, so it buzzes, or you can't fret certain notes nicely, or there might be fret ends sticking out the side of the fretboard, and all these things which, if you're a young player trying to make your first G chord, is just going to drive you mad.
Pick the electric guitar up. Now,
Sure thing.
They're steel string guitars, but they are roughly between sort of 20 and 30% lighter. So in other words, they're thinner strings, and therefore needs a lot less sort of, power pressure to push them to the fretboard. And also, again, it won't, it'll feel less painful on the tips of your fingers.
Yeah.
Again, it's another reason why as far as playability is concerned, the electric guitar is going to win out.
That's it. And you can generally get the strings a little bit lower to the fretboard than you can on a steel string or a nylon string too.
Yeah.
So it's, again, makes it just that little bit easier.
Let's have a little bit of a listen to just...
All the kids want to learn that. All your starter
That's what they
riffs.
wanted to learn in the 50s.
I teach all the kids Peter Gunn. They love it.
Now, electric guitar, it's a funny one. When I first started, 100%, the right way to learn was you got one of these or one of these first.
Yep.
And then when you were good enough, you got one of those. And
Yep.
I think music tuition over the last 25 years has done a great job of going, why?
Yes.
Why make it hard at first to then make it easy? Why not make it easy at first? Electric guitar, for me, it ticks all the playability boxes. It sort of wins, if you like, in terms of playability over these. It definitely wins in terms of, sort of action, if you like, and that kind of stuff. Admittedly, it doesn't win on price. It'll be
True.
An electric guitar and an amplifier will inevitably be more expensive than just buying an acoustic guitar on its own. And I suppose stylistically, not everybody wants to learn rock and roll, right? Some people do want to learn folk or classical, which is fine. But I kind of feel the electric guitar. Now, as I said, the one Ben is holding, this one, there are hundreds of different styles and colours, and we'll whack a few up on screen now. So you go, I like that one, I like that one. These are all around about the £100 mark. And then the amp that we've got today is a little home use amplifier. We do slightly smaller versions of this as well. So we've managed to get the price of an electric guitar and a guitar amplifier as an entry-level pack down to starting from about £130. So again, links below to go and find those. As I said, it's not as cheap as one of these, that's fine, but I still think unbelievably good value. And if your child has gone, that's really what makes my eyes light up, which takes us across to point number 4. Well done for bearing with us, by the way. I'm a huge advocate of learning on an electric guitar. And again, I think if your child is 10 or 11 years old or older and wants to learn to play, I don't think there's a better choice than going down the electric guitar route.
I think you're right, and unless they particularly want to learn, steel string stuff or classical stuff, it's, again, and parents are kind of seem to be asking questions like that more than the kids do, like what will be the best thing to learn on, and my answer is always, well, whatever, what do they want to play?
So that's point number 4. And it's all about picking an instrument that you think your child is going to want to play. And so much of that is going to be a visual. Is it cool? You know, does your child go, that looks super cool. I can't wait to take a picture of myself and show it to my friends and all this kind of stuff. And that again is where I think the electric guitar wins out, because whilst you can go and buy 100 different brands of this guitar and 100 different brands and versions of this guitar, they all by and large look the same.
They do.
The electric guitar, there's thousands of different colours and options and stuff.
I had a student for Christmas, she got a purple EastCoast S-Type and was so chuffed when she brought it in, was so excited to bring it in and show me. And then practiced really hard, which was great.
So if you know what you're doing, perhaps you've got a member of the family that already plays guitar and you just want to buy the guitar, the starter guitar, that's perfectly fine. EastCoast, you can buy all the guitars separately. If you're not sure what you're doing and you perhaps haven't got any other musical equipment in the family, all the EastCoast packages that you see, as a bare minimum, have everything you need to get going. So guitar, amp, a tuner, a cable, some plectrums, you know, all that kind of stuff. So you can just one order, everything will arrive and you'll have everything you need to get going. We have got one more point to go, but this is, for me, this is the fun with the electric guitar. So not only are there, you know, Ben can play hundreds of different styles, the amplifier has kind of 2 modes. This is before we even get into buying other pedals and stuff for it. 2 modes. So we have a clean guitar mode, which is like play all your kind of pop songs, that kind of stuff, you know, funk songs, everything like that with the clean tone. I was going to ask you to play a Taylor Swift song, but who knows if there is one.
There are lots, I can't remember any.
Or you press the button in that says overdrive and you get this. Who's not excited? I've been playing guitar for 30 years. I'm still excited about, you know, when I hear that sort of thing.
Turn it up. Yeah.
We're going to recap the 4 things so far. So you've got to get the size right. You've got to get the string choice right. You've got to think about the playability, especially if you're buying a used guitar. And you want to try and buy something that inspires your child to want to play. So the 5th one is something that Andertons can't help you with, but it's about getting the right lessons, the right tutor, or finding the best method.
Yes.
I know when I first learned to play the guitar, admittedly this was, you know, a long time ago, but you know, I was into whoever the pop and rock bands were of the day, and I went to my school with my guitar like this, and out comes the book. And it's green sleeves, and the tutor, you know, was like 1 million, or at least I thought he was, like 1 million years old.
It's probably my age.
And I just remember being like, it's not really what I thought it was going to be. Now, 30 years later, depressingly, I can tell you that my daughter had a similar experience. So it's a shame that not everywhere has kind of changed. What's your insight, and what would you suggest?
I mean, I can only really, you know, talk about the way that I teach myself. I was very lucky with my first teacher because she was mainly a classical guitar teacher, but she was also very into folk music. And unlike some other classical teachers that I kind of came across, wasn't anti me also learning electric guitar on my own time and that kind of thing. She was very encouraging of just playing the guitar in general, and I think that's what you need to look for. That's certainly what I try and do with my students, is rather than saying, okay, we're going to sit down and do Trinity grade 1 or, you know, whatever it might be, we can find out what the kids are into. And a lot of the times there is crossover with grades and stuff, particularly now, like the syllabus for things like, you know, rock school and the Trinity rock and pop stuff is actually really good. So you can normally find something there that the kids are into, but it's trying to just pick up on their interests and follow those and help them learn those kind of things. And if that means you need to skip over a bit of technique or whatever, then you can always go back and learn that. But it's the trickiest thing is trying to get kids enthused about practicing, particularly when, you know, there's so many other distractions now. So if you can find a teacher who your kid's really excited to go and see and gets, you know, like talks about in an enthusiastic way and is someone who will really, you know, impart a love of the instrument and music more generally, I think that's the important thing. Because if you can get kids to start listening to music, then they tend to want to start to play it, and that makes the job really easy.
Well, that's kind of the end of our video. So hopefully you've learned something. We'd love to help you with your first purchase. You can go and find links to all the East Coast range below. You can buy from the store, or you can buy on our website. There's delivery everywhere in the UK. Teaching wise, we do have some people that we know and like very much, particularly online. justinguitar.com is an amazing online teaching resource. You might go and try and find a local teacher like Ben.
I teach online too.
Oh, do you? Good
I
man.
do, yeah.
Links below.
That's it.
But it's so important that the teacher that is going to teach you or your child to play guitar is someone that inspires you and not someone that you're frightened of, or you know, that kind of vibe. You can all see it, right? We've all been there. Anyway, so that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our video.
I think it's worth, one more thing I think it's worth saying, because again, it's a question I've had from parents going, oh, when am I going to need to upgrade the guitar? When do they need a better guitar? And it used to be that basically as soon as you can justify it, get a better guitar. Whereas actually for something like this, like I'd take this out and do gigs on it as it is out the box. Like it will last. It's not going to be the kind of thing where as soon as you can afford the next one, you're going to chuck this in a skip, because this will last you all the way through, even if you inevitably end up with a massive guitar collection if you keep playing. So it's worth.
It's kind of you to say so.
No.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in another video soon.